My dad always warned me not to go into the woods at night. I should have listened. When I was a kid, my dad drilled one rule into me more than any other: never go into the woods after dark. We lived on the edge of a small town, with our backyard blending into a stretch of forest that seemed endless to me growing up. During the day, the woods were my playground. I knew every trail, every fallen log, every creek. I'd spend whole afternoons climbing trees and coming home covered in mud, my mom yelling at me while Dad just shook his head with that knowing look. But every night, when the sun dipped low, Dad's tone changed. "Stay inside," he'd say firmly, locking the back door. "No matter what you hear out there, don't step foot past the tree line." I'd ask him why, and he'd just mutter something about wild animals. Coyotes. Strays. Things that don't belong in the dark. As a kid, I accepted it. As a teenager, I thought it was just another one of his overprotective habits, like making me text every time I got somewhere or checking the locks 3 times before bed. I didn't take him seriously until the night I ignored him. It happened last fall. I was 22, back home for a week between jobs. My friends from high school were all in town too, and one night we decided to meet up around a fire pit in the woods, the same one we used to sneak beers at when we were kids. I hesitated. Dad's words still echoed in the back of my mind even after all these years. But the others laughed it off. "What's he think is out there? Bigfoot?" one of them joked. So I went. We hiked out with flashlights, the cold air biting at our cheeks. The fire crackled, beers cracked open, and for a while it was fun. We told stories, teased each other, and I almost forgot I was even nervous. But then, around midnight, the sounds started. At first it was just rustling in the trees. Normal enough, we were in the woods, after all. But then it grew louder, heavier. Like something big was circling just outside the ring of firelight. "Deer," someone said, but their voice was tight. Then came the howling. Not coyotes, not dogs. Something deeper. It rattled through the trees, carrying on the wind in a way that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. We all froze, staring into the darkness. My flashlight beam shook as I raised it, catching only the glint of eyes before they vanished again. "Let's go," I said immediately, standing up. But before anyone could move, a shape darted just at the edge of the firelight. Too fast to see clearly. Low to the ground, but big. The howling rose again, and suddenly there were more of them, shadows weaving through the trees, circling tighter. Someone swore. Another dropped their beer. Then one of the shapes lunged forward. It was massive, wolf-like, but wrong. Its body was too long, its legs too thin, its mouth gaping wider than any animal's should. It snarled, eyes glowing as the firelight hit them. We scattered. I ran harder than I ever had in my life, flashlight beam bouncing wildly. Branches tore at my arms and face. I could hear my friends screaming somewhere behind me, but I didn't dare stop. Something crashed through the undergrowth at my heels. I didn't look back. I couldn't. Somehow, through pure instinct, I found the old trail back toward my house. My lungs burned, my legs ached, but the crashing behind me only grew louder. When I finally burst out of the trees into my backyard, the porch light spilling over the grass, I didn't stop. I sprinted for the back door, slammed it shut, and locked it just as something heavy hit the other side. The door shuddered. The growl on the other side was low and guttural, vibrating through the wood. And then, silence. I stood there, shaking, sweat and blood dripping down my face, until my dad appeared at the top of the stairs in his robe, shotgun in hand. He didn't even look surprised. "I told you," he said quietly. "I told you never to go into those woods at night." I stood there, chest heaving, staring at him. He didn't even ask if I was okay. He just kept the shotgun leveled at the back door, waiting. "Dad," I whispered, my voice raw, "what the hell was that?" He didn't answer right away. He only lowered the gun once the night had gone still again, his shoulders sagging. "Wild animals," he muttered, the same excuse he'd used my whole life. But his tone told me even he didn't believe it anymore. That was when I realized. He hadn't just been warning me all these years, he'd been preparing for something he couldn't explain. I wanted to tell him about my friends, about how they were still out there. But before I could speak, a scream cut through the night. High, piercing, human. I lurched toward the door, but my dad blocked me with the gun. "Don't. They're my friends," I shouted. "We have to help them." His jaw tightened. For a moment I saw the war inside him: fear, guilt, regret. Then he shook his head. If you go back out there, you'll die too. I shoved past him anyway. His hand shot out, grabbing my arm with surprising strength. You think this is the first time, he hissed. His eyes burned with something I'd never seen in him before. You think your friends are the first kids to scream in those woods? You think I don't know what's out there? My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? He didn't answer. Not directly. Instead, he said, get upstairs. Barricade your window. Don't open the door until sunrise. Do you understand me? I wanted to argue, to demand answers, but another scream closer this time choked the words in my throat. So I obeyed. I barely slept. Every creak of the house, every brush of wind against the siding, made me jolt awake. Somewhere in the distance, I heard howls that didn't sound like any animal I knew. They rose and fell in patterns, almost like language. When the sun finally rose, Dad was already in the kitchen, making coffee like it was any other morning. His shotgun leaned against the counter. They'll find what's left of them, he said quietly, before I could even open my mouth. His face was pale, eyes sunken. The sheriff will say it was coyotes. Maybe a bear. People will believe it because it's easier than the truth. I sat down hard, my stomach in knots. And what is the truth? For a long time, he didn't speak. He just sipped his coffee, staring out the window at the tree line. Finally, he said, those things aren't new. They've always been here. My dad warned me, just like I warned you. We don't go into the woods at night because they hunt then. It's that simple. I swallowed. So you just live with it. Pretend it's normal. His eyes flicked to mine, sharp. You think you can fight what you don't understand? You think you can kill what doesn't die the way it should? You learn to live with it. You learn to avoid it. And you pray it never notices you. The weight of his words settled over me like lead. He wasn't just warning me all these years. He was condemning me to the same silence he'd carried his whole life. They found the bodies of 2 of my friends 3 days later. Or parts of them, anyway. The sheriff gave the official story: coyotes, mauled in the night, nothing anyone could have done. People lit candles and cried, but most accepted the explanation. I didn't. Because I knew what I'd seen. And I knew those woods weren't empty. The worst part? One of my friends, Chris, was never found at all. No body. No blood. Nothing. Just gone. Sometimes, late at night, I lie in bed and wonder if he's still out there. Not alive. Not dead. Just changed. Dad doesn't talk about it anymore. Neither do I. But every evening, just before dusk, I watch him check the locks, load the shotgun, and glance at the tree line. And every time, I hear his words in my head. You think this is the first time? I used to think he was just paranoid. Now I understand. The woods don't belong to us after dark. They never did. And I should have listened.